Hi everyone, Alex from Handy Software, here to talk about HandyHost, specifically today hosting Saya through HandyHost. As you may or may not know, with HandyHost we offer 3 different protocols right now, really utility blockchains that allow you to make passive income from your existing hardware or bandwidth. So the 3 protocols that we do right now are DVPN, and as the name suggests, it's distributed VPN. And it also bundles in a handshake resolver with that. As you may or may not know, we're the first handshake block miners. We made the original handshake mining client, and now we're trying to branch out and support all the other things around the handshake and distributed web ecosystem. Second on that list is Akash. We have other tutorials about how to build an Akash host to use additional servers and rent them out for passive income. And what we're focusing on right now is Saya. And Saya is basically renting out your storage space for money. So we have additional builds, that we've made. There's spreadsheets in the links. I have a 20 terabyte rig. I have friends who have 32 terabyte rigs that you just rent out storage and bandwidth and make money. So let's go ahead and I'll kind of walk you through what I have now and how to set that all up through HandyHost. This is my Saya HandyHost MasterNode. As I mentioned, behind these LED fans, they're more for looks than anything, but there are 6 independent 4 terabyte disk drives, each about $60 a piece on eBay. Generally, recommendation for SIA is just get really cheap spinning disk storage, and it just works. And then up above it, we've got mounted, I think it's a 512 gig SSD. That's where we store all our blockchain information, all our registry, and really the HandyHost app and anything else for whether it's DVPN, Akash, etc. Just keep that all on your SSD. And then other things, this is, beyond all the LEDs and the fancy case, it's just a computer. So we've got our motherboard up here, and really it's just got a fancy cooler on it. It's not necessary, I just went for a pretty build here. But it's just a 4-core AMD 3200G. Again, there's a spreadsheet here, all in all about between $1,000 and $1,100 for the full build. You could probably cut out a few hundred on the case and LEDs and all, braided cords and that kind of stuff. But yeah, I wanted a pretty thing that it sits here next to my desk. And as well, you could hang it on a wall, and it can be your pretty miner that you have at your house or office or whatever it may be. But yeah, all in all, 20 terabytes of space. It's about full in a few months. And then in addition, it can host DVPN, so I can rent out extra bandwidth for VPN operations and make money. And as well, it's managing 3 Akash nodes, so small servers sitting on the desk beside it, that we can monetize as well. And there's other videos that we have on our channel as well that you can go ahead and watch if you're interested in building an Akash hosting rig. But yeah, for the purposes of SIA, this is what I do. You could do something completely different if you want. Really, the requirement is as much disk space as you can have for as cheap as possible. If you notice these 6 braided cables, I've got a M2 adapter that I can expand into 5 individual SATA ports so that I can have even more disks. And there are a few free SATAs as well. I have a friend who made this build, and he has 8 independent disks on his, so a total of 32 terabytes. And as well, if you wanted to upspend, you don't need to go with 4 terabyte drives. I went there for price, but you could very well get 10 terabyte drives if you want and have up to 80 terabytes on this same rig. Again, nothing special. It's a pretty standard computer. I just wanted a pretty build because I'm used to building mining rigs. So let's go ahead and go over to our computer and we'll have a look at actually starting up HandyHost, configuring everything, and getting it going. So here we are at the intro point of HandyHost. This is in my web browser. I'm not even on the computer that I'm running HandyHost on. So on my local network, I'm able to look up HandyHost and use it from my mobile devices, etc., just to kind of manage and keep tabs on things. So today we're going to set up a Saya host, a brand new one out of the box. So within the UI, I'm just going to go over to Saya and give it a click, and we'll come into the interface. Now, first thing we have to do is get things started, basically, and get our full node synced with the blockchain. Now, you can just click Start Node if this is the only node on your network. For me, I have multiples on my network, so if you want to run multiple nodes, you just need to give them different ports. So I'm just going to do 9971. 9972, 9973 and 9974. And as well, make sure to set up TCP traffic port forwarding it'll show you your IP. This is my address on my local network, so I can log into my router, and then I can set these ports up so that TCP access is flowing from the outside world to these ports. And then all I have to do is click Start Node, and it'll start up Saya. And just FYI, you can create a new wallet now. You can't import a wallet during the chain sync, but after the blockchain is synced, you're entirely free to import an existing wallet into the service. And one thing to note, we can see our syncing progress up in the top right hand. We see our little sad face guy, and we've got about 332,000 blocks to go. Just FYI, it's going to take you probably 18 hours to a full day to sync the blockchain. So, set it up to start syncing. It'll run on its own, and just leave it running and come back later, and it will be done. So what we're going to do now is pause everything, and then we'll come back when this is all synced. All right, we're back. It's been about a day. Saya's been running. It should be up to sync now. So in our interface, I'm going to bring up Saya, and yeah, we can see in the top right corner, we are fully synced. And so now we can go ahead and get everything set up. As we can see in our dashboard, there's really nothing going on here because we don't have any storage yet. So that's the first thing we really need to set up. So let's add some folders. Folders are where you store things at within Saya. So I'm just going to add new, and it'll bring up your full path. And this is on Linux, and I generally put my devices in Saya. In this case, it's running on a smaller machine, so I haven't added disks to this yet. In Ubuntu, like in the mega storage machine, like my HandyHost 20 terabyte MasterNode that I run, I add like 6 independent disks, and then I mount them all into media with the Ubuntu disks utility, which we'll drop some links to our tutorial as well in the description here on how to set up your MasterNode. But in this case, I'm just going to, for sake of testing, we're going to add a folder in /media, which is generally where I mount disks at. So I've selected media. Actually, I'm going to do this. I messed up. So actually, I can just cancel this. I'm going to add new folder. Let's go into media, because I don't want to take over all of media, right? I'm going to create a new folder that'll be /media/test Saya. Let's add that, and let's save. We can see it updated. So I'm in /media/test Saya. I'm going to select this folder, and I can choose. I have 500 gig drive attached to this test node as it is. So just for the sake of testing, ideally in the perfect world you have a 4 terabyte drive, and you just max that out, max them all out that you've attached. But again, this is my testing node, so I'm just gonna let's add it there. So we'll add a 61 gig folder, and that'll allocate the space for you. So yeah, once it's allocated, I've hit save, and it's saved because our slider has gone, and now I've got a 61 gig folder, allocated a data file, so you don't have to worry about if you're going to fill up your drive with MP3s or whatever later. It's not going to encroach into this space. So it pre-allocates this space and makes it then writable by Saya. So now we've got storage. So the other thing we're going to want to do now is configure in our hosting. And network address, you can hover over all these question marks, and it'll tell you what this all is. But first thing you want to do is network address. It'll pre-fill it with your global IP address. One thing that I recommend that you do, that a lot of people do, you can use your IP. It's no problem doing it. But you can use services like noip.com. And for free there, you can register a domain, and it'll detect your global IP and then fill it in there, and it'll redirect. So you might, you can make up your own name. Like I could have HandyHost noip.org, or you can choose whatever domain you want. But you can set that up and then have it forward. So then I could pop that in here to handyhost.noip.org port 9992, right? But again, you can also leave it with your global IP. It's really up to you. Collateral budget. With Saya, you post collateral. You rent storage, yes, but you got to kind of put some skin in the game that you're going to honor that contract, because somebody's going to pay you to store things, and it better be online, right? That's kind of the point. It's your obligation, and up to you to say, okay, I'm going to keep my hosts online as much as I can. I mean, a few hours downtime here or there, it's not going to break the bank, right? It's acceptable. But it's generally you putting skin in the game to say, yes, I'm going to store this. And if I fail to store that, so at the end of that contract period, if you can't verify that you have it on your disks, then you lose your collateral. It's as simple as that. And so collateral budget, that's the max number of Saya coins that you're going to allocate to collateral across everything. Generally, like for every terabyte, it really depends on what your minimum price is. And it tells you what the top 100 host average is here. They're averaging 86. I usually set mine at 100. And then I generally, rule of thumb, it'll tell you in here, generally it's recommended to do 2x your minimum storage price. So I'll set this to 200. Now that means my max collateral. So for me on my 20 terabyte rig, generally I keep about 30,000 Saya coin in there. In the account, and right now, I mean, I'm about at 18, almost 19 terabytes, and I'm using about 20-some thousand of 22,000 collateral. So kind of rule of thumb is just keep 10x your minimum storage price per terabyte for your entire available storage, and you can move that up as it goes. I mean, say you want to start in small blocks, you want to set this to 10,000. And put 10,000 in your wallet. Once you approach that threshold, you'll see an error, or not an error, but a warning over in this left-hand menu that'll say, hey, you're approaching that threshold, you better deposit some more money. But yeah, since we're so small right now too, we have a handful of gigs, let's just say 10,000 for our max budget. Other things we'll want to set, max duration for days. So for any contract, what's the max duration of that storage contract you want to have? Generally, I leave these at 180 days or 6 months. You don't have many contracts that are that long anyways. On average, they're a few months at a time. And so, it's as well less risk for you if one of your disks fails, after 10 months running and you have 12 months contract, well, hey, you're out that collateral. So, generally I just leave this around 6 months. It's kind of acceptable. And again, collateral per terabyte per month, 200, always make it double your minimum storage price. And minimum download bandwidth price, you can make big money actually on your bandwidth. So how much are people going to pay you per terabyte to download their data? That's valuable bandwidth to you, to them. And as well, it shows you that top 100 host average is about 100, so awesome. So anytime somebody wants to pull data from you, it's gonna cost them. Which you can bank out, and make more actually, or just as much off your storage revenue as you can through bandwidth. And as well, these are opposite. So when you think of upload and download, it's from the context of the renter. So for the renter to download files from you, it's using your upload speed from you, the host. Right, and generally, like, upload is more valuable than download, so that's why there's such a discrepancy here. In their download price is more valuable to you as upload. So that's where we set it higher at it's 100 here and 25 for them to upload, because for you that's download. Download is plentiful, especially if you don't have a fiber connection. And so one of the other things, the last thing I'll mention here, registry size. You can bank out pretty good here on registry size too. So what registry is it's the Saya Skynet, which is kind of their web hosting type of platform on Saya. It's like a distributed database that the service uses, and I generally put 10 gigs toward this. I'm using 2% of mine right now, so each registry object is like, I think it says in here, maybe not, but yeah, it's like 16 kilobytes in size, so really small files. but they pay you like I've read like it's 10x your normal storage price. So once you rack up enough of those, it's actually pretty useful and great to have some registry. And registry as well is stored on your SSD. So wherever Saya, all the data in your wallet and that type of data, transactions, etc. live, that's where the registry lives as well, and it's pre-allocated. And generally, put this on SSD. It's kind of fast access data. It's the stuff you really is important. And as well, it's worth mentioning, this is all we need as a bare minimum. There are a ton, as you can see, of advanced settings, all kinds of stuff, and you can hover over any of these to see exactly what they are. Generally, you don't need to. I'm not too concerned with these. After running my node for 6 months now for testing, I generally don't touch these. And then as well, you can change your ports if you want here. So if you wanted to ever change, you're running, you set up a new router or something, or you just want to change your ports in general, you can set these again down here and save everything, and it'll propagate to the network. And then the last thing that we do, so this will announce our host basically to the world and say, I'm accepting contracts, so I'm ready to start working. So we set this to yes, and we're gonna hit save, and little party guy, hey, we successfully saved our host info. And it will take, so we can go to dashboard, contracts aren't going to start rolling in. I have one friend who just set up a node. He had contracts on the first day, but it does take, a little bit of time to start racking up. And then as well, it takes a while to start really for the money to start rolling in. For me, the first month, I don't think I made a single Saya coin, but I racked up a ton of storage. And my rank at that point, you can check on sayastats.info for global rankings. I was in the hundreds of kind of position in that global list, and now I'm around the top 30 of hosts. But it took months. So month one, you're going to see a lot of small contracts roll in. You're kind of being tested by the network at that point. You're not going to make anything really. Because these contracts, they're often a few months long. But as time rolls on, after that first month, you'll see some things trickle off, and then the whales start rolling in, right? Most of I'll show you my active dashboard now for my 22 terabyte rig. But yeah, we get, some of the stats we get, and these come from sayastats.info, and you can click the link here to kind of see more stats about your rig. But we can see what's kind of my score. Mine are pretty low because I have really slow bandwidth out here in the middle of nowhere. But still, generally, I'm in the top 30 with my connection is 100 megabytes down, 10 megabytes up. So this is possible to do with kind of slower connections like that. If you have fiber, awesome for you. But yeah, this is kind of my overall score, and mine's a 1 out of 10, so that doesn't necessarily mean a bad thing. I'm generally up all the time. I've never failed any contracts in the past 6 months, etc. And this is kind of my contracts view. So I've got 209 active. My locked collateral is 23,000 Saya coins completed. I've done 544 contracts. This much total size is rolled off my disks. And I've gotten this much collateral back on those 544 contracts. And I can roll over any of these nodes. These are ones that, this is kind of the blockchain timeline of the next bunch of months, but these ones are all finishing. They're all tiny in the next couple days. I've got, some of these are sized by the total value. So, value plus collateral is 1,100 Saya coins. And this is where the kind of whales live. 1 terabyte, 804 gigs, 1.2 terabytes. So as you can see, the whales come in over time. But generally, you're going to start out with a bunch of little contracts like this. That that first month, that's pretty much it. Nobody wants to put too much risk on a brand new host. But you earn your credibility over time by completing that that first month and proving yourself that yes, I'm reliable. I've never lost any contracts, and yeah, here's kind of that income. And like I said, the first First month you won't make anything. The second month you'll make a little bit, and then after that it starts rolling in. And it took me a few months to kind of start filling up disk space, but now I'm kind of approaching. I'm at 83% of that 22 terabytes. So every month I can expect to make, just off storage alone, 1,800 Saya coins, and off. When we look, you can see your potential revenue here too. So the next, whatever's remaining here on the board for the next 3 months, I can expect to make, just off storage, 3,100, so about 1,000 Saya coins a month, and that'll grow too. But yeah, potential upload and potential download, mine are pretty low, because again I have slow speeds. But if you have fiber, you can bank that out, and you can charge more for that, and you could make just as much, if not more, from your bandwidth as you do from your storage price. And then as well, like I mentioned, my registry, I've got 10 gigs of registry, which allocates about 39 million Saya Skynet database entries, and I've only used about 2%. Probably because my price per terabyte is about 100 Saya coins. So if you can play the game there too of what do I get if if you bring your price down 75% or something silly. You're charging 100 Saya coins for upload or download, but your storage price is dirt cheap. In that case, A, you'll rack up storage really quick, but B, you'll notice your registry will fly. And as well, you can look and kind of compare yourself to other stats on sayastats.info. Yeah, I can see my host in general, but you can click and see here's the overall top 500, and we can start to benchmark, and you can see like other people's strategies pretty easily. We'll look at the top host, because he's got as much storage as I do. He's let's see, he's probably got a really fast connection. But as well, yeah, his download price 5, upload price 1, collateral 135, but his storage price is 15 Saya coins per terabyte per month. I'm charging 100, right? And yeah, he's got like 100 terabytes of storage space there. And you can really benchmark yourself against others and see what's successful for them. How can I make that successful for me in the long run? But yeah, that's more or less it, what I wanted to cover today with Saya hosting. So that should be about all you need to get going, setting up your Saya host with HandyHost. But as always, if you have any questions, comments, etc., let us know. Always here to help. And as well, check out any of our other videos. We've got a bunch on setting up Akash if you want to rent out servers. We've got a bunch on DVPN if you got fiber or not. You can rent out that extra bandwidth all on this same machine, and you can capitalize on that too. So again, thanks a bunch for your time, for your patience, and everything.